Good morning, Mr. Moore. We are here today at the Harrington campus.
Yes.
It's a very historic day, and we're hoping you could give us a little bit of information as what's going on with the acquisition by UMass Memorial Health.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's really a pleasure to be here, and we're going to have a big welcoming and celebration with UMass Memorial Health as they welcome us into their system. We're very excited about that. Brings a lot of advantages to the entire community that we serve, and we look forward to really expanding and still providing the great local quality care that we have done for the last 90 years and look forward to another 90. So thank you for asking me to join you today.
Well, thank you for allowing Southbridge Community Television to be here and to film this historic occasion. I mean, as you know, September 7th, 1931 was the grand opening of Harrington Hospital.
Walking up Main Street.
People came from all over, from 1929 when Mr. and Mrs. Harrington gave their first $150,000 to provide this hospital, and the people built it with the rest of the money.
What I hope you do this morning is look at some of the pictures we have from 1931 that are in the room right behind me, so I look forward to it. Thank you very much.
I want to point out on that side of the room, if you get a chance, there are 4 photos, and those photos are from 1931. We blew up some photos of when the hospital was built, and others in the room know the history better than I about Southbridge and the commitment to build this hospital. But those photos is when the actual construction occurred. You could still see in that 31 building here, the portico, the balcony and everything, and the angel door, this infamous angel door with cherubs on top. Now, on the good and the bad was when we built the new ER, one of the things that could have stopped the ER construction was, what do we do with the angel door? We carefully took it apart and placed it in our lobby by the elevators. So we preserved it. And actually, who was the ones who, Chris helped us refurbish it? Baypath. Thank you, Baypath. So it's awesome. Real historical benefit here. So what I really want to make some comments, and in the program you have Senator Goby. Unfortunately, she won't be here as she's still in session. But without her being here, I can make 5 more minutes of comments. So I'm just warning you. 10. Good point. Thank you. But really, you know, this is a momentous occasion. It's been a long time in the works. And I think I want to really give a special thank you to all of you from the community that came today representing all those who we serve. This is really our mission. This is why we're here. And I think you represent to us, both just as community members, board members, otherwise, really the essence of who we are and what we do every day. And I'm so thankful to have staff, physicians, volunteers, auxiliary, everybody pitching in every day to allow us to provide the excellent care that we provide. So I say that right off the bat from my real, passion for what we do at Harrington. I want to welcome several folks, of course, Dr. Dixon, Eric Dixon, President and CEO of UMass Memorial Health, Doug Brown, President of the Community Hospital Network, and then our legislative team, delegation, which we'll ask to come up later. Of course, Secretary Sutters, Mary Lou Sutters, is a good friend and has done excellent supporting us throughout the number of years that we've done, especially not on just behavioral health, but especially around behavioral health. We really appreciate that. I would be remiss if I didn't mention a couple of our consultants, because they've really guided us and helped us and worked countless hours through the process. And that's present today, Larry Seck and Bill Mandel. Steve Tringali could not make it today. And then special mention to our board members of the board and members of the corporation. Because those members were really, I always thought of, our ambassadors within the community. And they've done such a great job being open-minded about what's best for the community. And that's not an easy decision. But I will tell you, especially those who served on the strategic committee, who engaged, and I'm sure Randy could attest to this, in very long, 3 years, extensive process, but made ultimately the right fiduciary decision for the best interest for the long-term services to be provided to these 20 or so towns we serve. And I would tell you, the members of that committee I wanted to call out individually because that really was yeoman's work. And Mark Palmerino may not be here yet, he is on his way. So Mark Palmerino, Randy Becker, Jim Waddick, Jay Dederando, Mike Engel, and Alan Peppel. They really were the backbone of helping us get through this. I do want to mention, although not here, Tony Dederando, but he wasn't here today, but thank him as well. Dr. Powers, who's here, currently as our Chief Medical Officer, served on that committee as the President of the Medical Staff, and I was also supported heavily by Chris Kniff and Tom Sullivan. So a great showing. I think I would really want to start by saying I feel this relationship with UMass Memorial Health will secure health care for the towns we serve for many, many years to come, especially with the communities and the affiliation that relate to continuing to serve the underserved, provide behavioral health services, and install a new electronic health record. Epic is the premier medical record that you could ever get. And Harrington, I think Harrington looked at it 5 years ago and they said, sorry guys, we're not interested in even selling it to you. So look now what we have. And we were going to do a Meditech upgrade, and I think this is like 10 times better solution. So we're really thrilled about that. I want to digress a moment, as I alluded to before, and go back 90 years. The history, as I understand it, is local residents did a march up Main Street, came to the top of the hill here, besides Charles Harrington with 150,000, I think, at the time. But they gave $5, $10, and began the effort to build the hospital. That's quite remarkable. And I think they had the vision and recognized the need for such a facility locally. It was becoming a vibrant town. And now it's time and our opportunity to pay them back, to commit to providing local health care. Our motto for a while was total local care. We had to abandon that for different reasons, but it was a great motto at the time, keep the care local. And I think that will still persist. The medical center is certainly too busy to take volume up there that we could do locally, and that is one of our missions. I'd like to take a moment though and also highlight for some of you who may not be fully aware, some of the highlights over the last 14 or 15 years. Down the hill over there on the other side of the main entrance, we created a cancer center. That cancer center, by the way, is also the radiation portion twofold. The joint venture that UMass Memorial participates in, as well as the chief of radiation oncology, TJ Fitzgerald, still spends a day or two a week here, which is unbelievable to have that level of medical support here. And when we first started, he promised me he'd at least stay a year, and he's still working here. So that's amazing, and he is amazing. But I think that cancer center gives us the ability to offer a full range of cancer services, both including chemo, radiation, in one site with a fully accredited program. In 2008, we also established a group called Harrington Physician Services. Harrington Physician Services enabled us to recruit more effectively much needed providers, both primary care and specialists, to meet the needs locally. Because before that, we had a very limited medical staff, mostly private, which still exists, but we were able to add to that significantly, and now we have approximately up to about 90 employed providers. So it's a significant opportunity for us to provide care locally through that arm that we have established. Another major thing happened. It was a busy 2008, 9, and 10. We established a relationship in the Webster-Dudley community by coming in and have the opportunity to provide care on the Hubbard campus. That was a unique arrangement. And Alan, a bit risky at the time, if I recall, but we pulled it off with the help of Senator Moore at the time as well. And it was quite an experience. And that campus today has a full-service satellite ER, working closely with Webster EMS, and soon to be 2 inpatient psych units as we increase our bed capacity by 10 and have 40 beds on that campus for both behavioral health as well as substance use. Recently, we opened the Addiction Immediate Care Center over there, which gives patients several medicated-assisted treatment options in one setting with counseling to help them deal with their addiction issues. Also, over the years, we have added more services such as wound care, sleep lab, expansion of rehab services, and other programs. Another thing I'd like to mention is we recognize the need to reach out better to our local Hispanic Latino community. And with that, we've tried to work hard with a local group that focuses on the Latino population for adult daycare services, pharmacy, and other avenues, which is Renaissance Medical, which also is in the Worcester area doing the Worcester Public Housing Authority as well. So we look to expand that because it helps us work better with the Medicaid population. Finally, I want to end on a real high note. That is what has been our response to COVID. I believe all of you, one way or another, were touched by COVID at the very beginning with knowing people or having COVID or having patients inpatient. And at the very beginning, Dr. Powers, Jess, Harry, Chris, and others, Greg, were really hands-on, really got us through it. And I would say we did quite well at the very, very beginning with inpatient COVID needs, working closely as well with UMass Memorial as you opened DCU Center. But in addition, we got pretty aggressive on the testing side. Thank you, Hope Heartland. You were an early forerunner and able to have us do immediate testing on site, and that was really fantastic. Helped us with getting patient flow going much better. And then the crowning moment, I'd have to tell you, and I'm super proud, I'll say Jess and Heather and Jason and others and Magda, when we created our vaccination center in Southbridge. And thank you for the town, Jack, Paul, everyone, Jose, for really giving us the opportunity in the community center to really have the ability to do a statewide vaccination center and continue the flow of supply so we can not just do our employees, but we reached out to EMS, fire, police, frontline people, not just through the 20 towns, but early on. I think Frank, you told me, we had people from the Cape, from the Berkshires, everywhere, flocking to us. And I'll never forget, and Jess, you'll know this, when we did our employees, she told me, wow, Ed, we really did great. We did 150 people today. My answer, if we could do 150 and the space is large, it's scalable. Let's do 600. And she thought I was crazy, but I wasn't. We did 700 on many days. And that's what we're about. That's who we are. We look at it and say, how can we do better? What more can we do? How do we identify needs in the community and respond to them? Because isn't that our mission? To listen and follow up and do better. So I'm very proud of that, as you can tell. And I think the hard work of our staff, our physicians, and the board is fantastic, but it really doesn't stop there. We now enter the second chapter. It's a new journey. And with that journey, it became apparent to the board that we needed a strong partner. We needed someone who cared about what happens in our local areas. And I call Eric often. He knows maybe what I'm going to say. But when we did the deal, his final comment was, if you're part of UMass, your problems are our problems. And I love that quote because I use it often, by the way. It's like having a father figure who's going to say, hey, I'm not going to let my kids get in too much trouble. So I look forward to that. I think it's going to be a strong relationship. Size makes a difference in certain things, and this is one of them. An independent, freestanding community hospital, and believe me, most of my career was spent in that. And it's been fantastic. In these 14 years I've been at Harrington, I couldn't have asked for a better situation. But it is time. It's the perfect time to do this acquisition and become part of a strong healthcare system, rounding out the rest of this portion, at least, of Central Mass for everyone's benefit. So with that, I'll just try to close and say, if we can survive COVID and make this deal happen, which I'll tell you, many deals didn't make it through COVID. That's really a wonderful thing to be able to stand here today and say that it's official. We're really looking forward to be able to report on our successes 10 and 15 years from now. But really, thank you all for coming. I think it's a really strong milestone and a momentous event. And I'm hoping we can look forward to at least 90 more years and pay back what we have had. So thank you very much. Now, so as I mentioned, unfortunately Senator Goby won't make it, but I'm going to ask a few people to come up, and I'll act as MC, and I'm very, very pleased that Mark Palmerino, who's our board chair up till yesterday, for the last 3 years, and served on the board for many, many years, was able to join us today. So Mark, if you'd like to join us and make a couple of comments, thank you.
Thanks, Ed. I apologize to everybody for being a little late. I'd love to say that I was at our Webster campus seeing how the construction was going on, but I was there with my wife in the emergency room this morning, so I was able to make it. Everything's fine, so all is well. But thank you. She'll be glad to know she got applause for not even being here. I'd like to start off by thanking the entire board. Our board here at Harrington is a little different than most. We meet every month. We get really into the nitty-gritty of what's going on for the hospital, and everyone on that board takes their fiduciary responsibilities very, very seriously. And for that reason, that's one of the reasons why we're here today. A subset of that board was the strategy committee. I'd like to thank all of the members of the strategy committee who met for hours and hours, starting over 3 years ago, to kind of determine what our survival was going to be. How was Harrington going to go into the next decade and beyond? And that was really the goal. It was, how are we going to do this? And of course, being independent forever, the first thought was, how can we do this and remain independent? And we looked at all sorts of ways that we may be able to do that. And when it came down to it, we realized that, yeah, we could do this, but for a period of time. And with the way that healthcare is changing so fast, we knew that it was probably, we were going to be looking for some sort of alignment at some point in the future. So we decided to go to the RFP process, and we went out looking for potential people that we could merge with. So that process started over 3 years ago. My process with the hospital started almost 59 years ago. I was born here at Harrington. My family's been in this town for over 100 years. I was so familiar with the people, with the nurses in the emergency room growing up, that they knew me by first name. I'd walk into the emergency room, and one of the nurses would look at my mom and go, Ellie, what did he do now? So between broken bones and stitches, I was, like I said, a regular there, and I was actually the recipient of the first ruptured spleen repair ever done here at Harrington Hospital. So I have quite a few milestones here, and I might say that I know Harrington pretty well, both inside and out. But as the strategy committee narrowed our focus down, and we came down to what we'll call it the finalists, Ed said to me, he said, Mark, we really need to do some more due diligence. And I didn't really know what he meant by that, but as time went on, and as fate would have it, I ended up being admitted to UMass Memorial Hospital in the university campus in October of 2019. And Dr. Dixon, if you pardon the pun, I was there almost like for a full season of Undercover Boss. Okay? I experienced nearly every department, every service available through the multiple campuses. I was admitted at the university campus, went through the emergency room there. I was admitted at the Memorial campus, went through the emergency room there. I had day surgery at Hanneman several times. I was on 2 different levels of the intensive care unit, something not many people do. I was cared for by teams, and I'm going to need to look at my list for this one. Teams from cardiology, urology, radiology, neurology, renal, endocrine, vascular, trauma, surgery, laboratory, physical therapy, and last but not least, infectious disease. So when I say I saw the hospital inside and out, I saw the hospital inside and out. There are a couple places I didn't. One was mental health, which my wife was pushing for a full psychological workup, but she's been pushing for that for years, so it had nothing to do with my stay there. And the other one I contemplated when I started to feel better was to sneak into the maternity ward, but I figured that was kind of a moot point at that point. I might have looked like I could have been 9 months pregnant, but I figured I wouldn't pass the test. So now I think at this point I can honestly say that I know UMass Memorial Health both inside and out. So during my tenure, and unfortunately I walked in the middle of Ed's speech, but I'm sure he went through all the things that have happened while he was here, and during that same time I was here, whether it be on the board or an officer. But I can say with all honesty that our joining UMass Memorial Health System is by far the most momentous for me, and by far the most momentous for this community. Through this affiliation, we've secured Harrington's longevity, which was our goal when we set up the strategy committee. And by doing so, we've established strong commitments to services, capital, marketing, recruitment, technology, and the ability to continue to grow. The key to any team's success is not only to have great players out on the field, but it's to have a great bench, and more importantly, to have a great development program. And with UMass Memorial Health, we at Harrington now have all those things. So I'd like to say that I'm very proud to have been able to be part of this, and I'm looking forward to assisting in any way through this transition and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And the great news is that you're here to talk about it, first of all, and I'm so glad your wife is doing well. So thank you. I'd like to now call Randy Becker up. Randy's been a board member for about 4 or 5 years. And as of today is our new chair of the board. And we're very excited about that. He was vice chair with Mark over the last 3 years. It was an extended term. Thank you very much, both of you, as well. And will serve on the UMass Community Hospital Board and attend the UMass System Board. So we're looking forward to Randy's tenure going forward, and as well as thank him for the time spent. So Randy, join me up here. Thank you.
Uh-oh, I'm breaking the equipment already. Thank you, Ed. I was just reflecting on Mark's talk, and one, I'm glad you didn't visit the morgue, because that's one department none of us want to visit. But I had similar, not as crazy experiences as Mark did, but only at Hubbard. As one of 4 sons and father, we visited the emergency room at least once a week. Connie's shaking her head. I'm sure that's where I first got to know Connie. And it was stitches, it was broken bones, and my mother, being a registered nurse, at one point she said, "This is enough." She got a razor blade, a straight razor, and got, butterfly stitches, I think. And she would just, at that point, shave our heads, butterfly, and just, all right, go away, go play. So I'm very happy that I didn't have the experiences that Mark did. God bless that you made it through okay. So good morning, Secretary Sutters, our delegation of state and local leaders, Dr. Dixon, Doug Brown, Ed Moore, fellow directors and strategy committee members. I feel like I'm at the podium for Nichols College. Doctors, nurses, employees, and all of you gathered today for this incredible occasion. I have to say to Secretary Sutters, it's much nicer and much more uplifting to see you here in person at this event rather than seeing you on TV updating everyone on COVID cases in the Commonwealth. So thank you for being here. And thank you for enduring, I guess is the right word, all of those TV, you'd mess up my TV watching schedule though, because you'd always take out 20 words or less. And that was the TV show we would watch all the time. But thank you for all of the time you spent with the governor and lieutenant governor. I'm honored to have served on the Harrington board and participated on the strategy committee that ultimately led to this momentous day. Being a selectman in Webster and having lived and worked there almost my entire life, I know firsthand the importance of having good health care in our community. Unfortunately, I also witnessed the effects on Webster and the surrounding towns when Hubbard Hospital closed. We were fortunate to still have an emergency room at the time, but it looked like it was built in the early 70s, maybe late 60s, and that's probably because it was.
It's actually the 50s.
Oh, the 50s. So the staff there was incredible, and we had, and still have, some of the best staff. Dr. Ankowiak as the head of all of our ERs, as well as the best EMS organization that I think of, sorry Southbridge, in the entire state, taking care of our residents. I'm not sure if Gary Milliard's here today, but I want to thank Gary and all the staff at Webster EMS for running such a top-notch, caring organization. My background of 35 years at Muffrey Insurance got me well prepared for the regulated auto insurance market, being the largest property casualty insurer in the state. However, I have to say that the federal and state regulations, operations, insurance, payment systems, safety protocols, etc., in the healthcare field make even my head spin. It is truly a complex environment. After a few years of serving on the Harrington board, but with the memory of Hubbard Hospital in the back of my mind, I knew Harrington was what I might call in decent financial strength. The question was, could we make all the capital improvements that were necessary to strive and survive for another 15 years or so as being an independent local community hospital? Circling back to Webster, 10 years ago, Ed asked me to help raise funds to create a new emergency department on the closed Hubbard campus. I remember telling Ed I simply didn't think it was possible. This was because of the $4 to $5 million Pension Benefit Guarantee Corporation, PBGC.
It's actually seven and a half.
$7.5, wow. $7.5 million PBGC lien that gave me great pause, and I simply didn't think that Ed could do it. But I told him, I said, if by some miracle he was able to get that millstone around our neck taken care of, I'd be happy to raise funds, help raise funds, and join the board. And frankly, I did not think Ed could do it. Of course, Ed didn't tell me that when I was on the board and then when I became secretary, that the secretary then became vice chair, and then the vice chair became chair. You forget to tell me. Oh, so here I am now as chair and very thankful for it. Well, in 2015, we opened the state-of-the-art ER that takes excellent care of the Webster community and surrounding towns. And simply put, it saves lives that would otherwise be lost on a trip to Southbridge or a trip to Worcester. And a special thanks to the Remillard family that led the local fundraising efforts for our new Webster Emergency Department. Since then, and here comes the sun and how appropriate, but since then, like a phoenix rising, we've seen, I did not plan that. We've seen physical therapy, the dual diagnosis center, the addiction immediate care center that I was talking about earlier, all built at the former Hubbard campus. We also look forward to this October for the completion of the mental health unit expansion. As we all know, and I think hopefully you all appreciate, these are critically crucial services that any community would be envious of having. In a time when many communities seem to be turning their backs on the scourge of mental health and drug addiction issues that we all face today, Harrington, and I'm proud to be a part of it, has more than risen to the occasion to help those most in need of compassion and care. The point of mentioning all of this is to remind us that local care is the lifeblood of a community hospital. However, in today's day and age of medical care, small local hospitals, as Ed was referring to, are at a huge disadvantage, just at the same time they are needed the most. To be blunt, the Harrington Board didn't want to see the same thing happen 15 years ago to Hubbard and have that happen to Harrington. That's, of course, where UMass comes in. It was just over 2 years ago, on June 21st, 2019, that the Harrington Strategy Committee met with Dr. Dixon, Doug Brown, and the rest of the UMass executive team to talk about the UMass-Harrington merger for the continuity of healthcare in Southbridge, Webster, and our surrounding communities. I have to say that Dr. Dixon, Doug, and all the UMass folks that we've met with are not only top-notch in their fields, but most importantly, like us, they are good, caring people. Keeping care local is the top priority of this new marriage between our institutions. Important components of the vows of our marriage are continuity of care and providing the best possible health care to our communities. But it doesn't end there. UMass's agreement to fund the Anchor mission will help expand and invest in our communities by targeting groups and areas with projects for people most affected by the social determinants of health. Doug Brown will provide more information on this soon. In closing, I'd like to say thank you, Dr. Dixon and UMass, for being so welcoming and making Harrington the newest member of the UMass family. We look forward to continuing the long legacy of healthcare that Harrington has provided, now under the UMass family umbrella. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Randy. I appreciate all your wonderful remarks. I might go out of order now for the sake of Secretary's schedule and ask Secretary Sutters to join us at the podium. And she's been a long-time supporter for Harrington and this whole community. And please join me up here. Thank you.
I don't want to break it.
That's why I'm here.
Still morning. Good morning, everyone. It is a privilege to be with all of you this morning. I have visited the Webster campus, Harrington several times, and UMass. I've always done it stationary, upright, not on a stretcher. So I'm not exactly sure about the folks you have on your board who seem to have a lifelong history of calamities. I must say, sir, there are less draconian ways to engage in a due diligence about a merger. I'm not sure I'd recommend to any of you who are thinking about mergers in healthcare that you have to go underground to investigate. That is really worth it. But I applaud you. I'm thrilled that you are here. There's no way you could really top that. So, Ed, Eric, thank you for all that you do for healthcare in central Massachusetts. This merger, several years in the making with a thing called COVID in between, is building upon a long-standing relationship between these two central Mass-centric healthcare organizations and solidifies the long-term future of Harrington Healthcare. And that is really at the heart of this merger. And it is a testament to how important healthcare is in Southbridge and the community that all these community members are here. To remind you, Eric, that you need to be committed to healthcare in southern part of Central Mass, which I know you are. To all of those who have worked on this merger, from finance to operations and the board, plus meeting the regulatory requirements, of which we have just a few in healthcare. You made it. To the board members who are on the strategy committee, and particularly to folks from Harrington, the fact that you were willing to look outside the walls of the hospital to secure the future for your community is really a testament to your heart of your community, because you understood that the future of healthcare really required a different way of thinking about the future. And I know it's hard, and the anxiety that comes with it. I'm a social worker. But the fact that you could see the future and work through it and get the commitments for this marriage is really a testament to how much you care about the communities that you're from. And the fact that you have so many of the legislators here, they're going to make sure that this marriage really works, of course. Here in Southbridge, Harrington is central, is critical to serving Mass Health members. A high public payer hospital, nearly 25% of the patients at Harrington have Medicaid. Harrington has so many offerings that help serve its diverse population and ensures that those served can find a provider care team that truly meets the needs. You've heard a little bit about what the marriage brings, so I will not go into that. I do, though, want to comment about behavioral health. I wish all healthcare institutions like UMass and Harrington understood that when we talk about healthcare, we have to embrace physical and behavioral health care. And Harrington and UMass have never shied away that when they think about health, they think about whole health, that you can't segregate physical and behavioral health care. So it's been a privilege to work with Harrington and with UMass to really solidify that you need to take care of people's whole health. So I look forward to coming back to the 14 beds. We were pleased to be a partner to both in funding and what will be enhanced payments, because we also need to truly provide parity for behavioral health as we do with whole health. I also want to just give, COVID is, the governor and I have this debate as to where COVID really exists. He'd like to think it's in the rear view mirror. I think it's sort of in the side view mirror. But I want to really give a shout out to the EMSs, to UMass, to Harrington, for all that you've done to keep people as safe as possible during COVID, from testing and on and on. I do want to just, for people who don't know, Eric was the first hospital CEO who, when we were going to set up field hospitals, was like, he was in. He had no qualms, whatever it was going to take to set up the DCU center, to ensure that our hospital systems were not overrun and could continue to provide critical care in the Commonwealth. He stood up and he actually demonstrated for other hospital CEOs that they could do this too. So Eric, I really do want to just, in front of all these folks, give you a shout out for really stepping up and showing to many other hospitals that field hospitals were really okay and they would provide quality care for everyone. And to Ed and the team, you have delivered more than 50,000 doses of vaccine in this part of Massachusetts. That is extraordinary. Massachusetts is a national leader on COVID vaccines. We have now fully vaccinated. I know I can't quite, I'm still COVID, we have now vaccinated just under 4.3 million people fully, have administered 8.6 million vaccines to date, and we are the only other state that is doing as well as we are is Vermont. And other than sharing a border, and we're both from New England, we couldn't be more dissimilar as states. So please, if you've not gotten vaccinated, I encourage you to get vaccinated, and we will recover from this together as a community. But today, I'm really here to say that this marriage, this merger, solidifies the future of healthcare in southern central Massachusetts. It is a testament to the boards, both boards, to the teams, and I really wanted to be here to say we're just incredibly supportive of this. So congratulations, thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Sutters, and stay as long as your schedule permits, but we appreciate you coming. Next on the podium, I'd like to ask Doug Brown to join us, make a couple of remarks. Thank you, Doug.
Good. Hopefully I don't break it. Good morning, everyone. It's just such an honor to be here and celebrate this day. Thank you, Secretary Sutters and Randy and John. We really appreciate your remarks. And I'm just thrilled to be able to join in this celebration. I want to formally welcome Harrington to the UMass Memorial Health family. We've always looked at you as family, but now it's formal and official. So you get to have a name on your bedroom in the house, and you can actually even go to college and leave all your crap in the basement now. It's all fine. So we've just spent over a year on the process called due diligence. You've heard that term used a little bit earlier today. For those of you who don't know what that process is, I think John gave a great description of it earlier today. It is like a physical examination, except the doctors would say to you, we're going to push and prod and probe, but when we get to a tender spot, we're actually going to push much harder until we're satisfied we understand the nature of the problem. We are through that process, and when one goes through a process like due diligence, you actually learn quite a bit about the patient. And I'd like to share 3 specific things I've learned about Harrington in this process. First, Harrington is a jewel of an institution, and that is mostly because of its people. Thanks to Ed, I've had the great privilege of meeting a lot of the Harrington people, from frontline caregivers to physicians to nurses to board members and to leaders. And to a person, I have seen in their eyes a deep commitment and passion for this institution. I have seen a willingness to do everything possible to provide outstanding care to their patients, and I have seen a willingness to give back to their community. And that, frankly, has been an inspiration to me. Second, I have learned that you are incredibly resilient. In addition to that physical examination I described called due diligence, we also threw at you a once-in-a-century worldwide pandemic in the middle of this process. But you didn't flinch. You stayed focused on doing what you needed to do. You didn't get distracted from your mission of taking great care of patients, of responding to the needs of the community, and you got the work done to make this affiliation happen, and that's very impressive, and I commend you for it. Finally, I learned that we share a belief that what happens outside our walls is not the whole story of health. In fact, what we know is that what happens outside our walls, one's education level, their income level, their housing situation, their access to healthy food and transportation, all have a much greater contribution and role in our health than the great care that we provide. We share the knowledge, the sober reality, that one zip code has more to do with how long we will live than the great care we provide inside. But most importantly, we share a belief that it is our responsibility to do something about it. That is why together we showed incredible leadership in becoming what we believe is the first in the country to incorporate our anchor mission commitments into our affiliation agreement. And what that means is that we will leverage our hiring power to actually go into low-income areas of underemployment and target hiring in those areas to help change lives. It means we will leverage our purchasing power to dramatically increase our purchases in minority and women-owned businesses and in companies that have made a commitment to promoting sustainable environmental practices. And it means we will invest $4 million in the Southbridge and surrounding communities to get at those zip code disparities that I've discussed and to help move us forward to greater equity in health. And for that, we should all be proud. In closing, I want to just thank a few people. The Secretary Sutters had alluded to the fact that there are so many people from all these different disciplines on both the Harrington side and the UMass Memorial side. I don't want to name one because I'll forget a lot of people, but they're all here, and I'm just deeply grateful for the incredible work that people had, from legal to human resources to a consultant in Florida and Gary Lapidus, to all sorts of disciplines. We really thank you deeply for all the work you put into this. And in closing, let me just say that it is my hope, it is my passion, it is my commitment to do everything that I can to ensure that 90 years from today, hopefully on a day as nice as this, and an event like this, our great-grandchildren will hear stories not only about the great care that we provided to their ancestors when they were sick, but also about how together we inspired a new generation of institutional leaders who used their resources to bring about healthier and more equitable communities. Thank you. Welcome to the family.
Secretary, one moment, just one moment. Don't move a minute. I want Dr. Dixon to come up because I want to share something with him, and I'm good, don't worry. With him, and want you to see this because I have a little memento for Dr. Dixon before he makes his remarks. I hope you understand and take it in stride, but
He is your boss then.
well, no, actually Doug's my boss. I'm shielded. So I'll take the risk. So when the announcement was made that we were going to do this deal, the local paper had an article. And some of you may remember this, some may not, but I shared it back then. But I thought it would be appropriate to give a memento of that article. But I'm just going to first read the headline. Harrington negotiating to acquire UMass Memorial Healthcare. I'm not sure who got it wrong, but that's the article.
Good to me.
It could be fake news, I'm not sure. Eric, thank you. Thank you, Secretary.
Thanks, Secretary Sutters, for being here. Thank you, Ed. It's a big day here today. It's been a long time coming. A day when our two organizations, our destinies become linked. A day of change, and change sometimes can be scary. I think it's going to be all positive change. But before I talk about things that may change and will change over time, I wanted to talk about some things that won't change because of this merger. So on the Harrington website it says, founded in 1931, Harrington Hospital has always operated as a nonprofit institution governed by a volunteer board of directors serving the best interests of the public. That's not going to change. It also says, the mission of Harrington Healthcare System is to deliver optimal health care to the residents and communities of South Central Massachusetts, Northeastern Connecticut. We are committed to providing personalized, compassionate care and advanced technology. That's not going to change. And I know firsthand the Harrington family, as Ed always, I get your newsletters too, as Ed always refers to all of you as an incredibly dedicated group of caregivers with one of the best cultures in healthcare. And we all are going to make sure that that doesn't change at all. So what will change? Well, beginning today, we're going to share financial resources, equipment, supplies, so that we can make sure that all of our caregivers, wherever they are across the healthcare system, have what they need to take the best care possible of patients. Before too long, we will start sharing clinical information about patients through a state-of-the-art integrated electronic health record, EPIC, so we can provide even better, more efficient care to the people that we serve. You're going to love it. We are also going to share educational programs so that we can all learn and grow together. And at UMass Memorial Health, we are absolutely dedicated to developing our people so that they can achieve their wildest dreams. It's a big part of the culture that we hope to be bringing to Harrington. We're going to share best practices in patient care. And based on your quality scores, we have a lot to learn from you. Most importantly, we are going to share a vision of becoming the best possible place for patients to get care and the best place for caregivers to give care. That's true north for us. I want to take this opportunity to thank Ed, the Harrington Healthcare System Board of Trustees. It's good to see you not in a Johnny Mark. And his senior leadership team for their great work and leadership during this journey that has brought us together here today. I also want to thank the UMass Memorial team led by Doug Brown, Gary Lapidus for helping out from a consulting side as well for making this happen. Thanks Secretary Sutters for her amazing leadership to get the state through this pandemic and for being here today. Representative McKenna, Representative Durant, Senator Fatman's office I know is here. Thank you. I saw Congressman Neal's team was here. Kareem, is he still around?
Representative Bertha.
Oh, I'm sorry, Representative. I'm trying. Leary, you're supposed to have them all on the paper here. And Senator Goby, I think somebody from her team was here. So thank you so much for being here today. We look forward to our teams getting to know one another and working together to improve the health of the diverse populations here of Central New England. And Ed, thanks for adopting us into the Harrington family.
Thanks to everyone for joining us today. And what I'll just close by saying is we look forward to many, many more years to come. Hopefully have more celebrations of our successes. And I look very much forward to working closely with leadership and others at UMass Memorial Health. Thank you so much for attending. Have a great day.
I am here and pleased to be with Dr. Eric Dixon. He is President and CEO of UMass Memorial Health and the man of the hour, I think, for today's festivities here at Harrington Hospital.
It's a very, very exciting day. The bringing together of two critical resources for Central Massachusetts, Harrington Healthcare and UMass Memorial Healthcare. We're going to have the best of both worlds here. We're going to have a high degree of independence for Harrington to meet this community's needs, while at the same time we'll now be able to share resources and IT and financing and do some really great projects together. So we couldn't be more excited. I think we've always had a great partnership with Harrington. Harrington has primarily provided the primary and secondary care for the region. We've provided the tertiary care, the trauma services, the higher end services, and now we get to coordinate all those things together in a way that you really can't if you don't come together in terms of a corporate relationship like this. So,
absolutely.
A lot of times we've hit barriers when we wanted to do projects together, we wanted to share resources. There's certain regulations about how things can flow, information about patients. All of that is gone now today, and it's going to allow for an even better relationship and the growth of what has really been a great relationship for many years.
You can understand people in our community have been a little bit bittersweet about this acquisition, and we're trying to put the word out that it's sustainable long-term local care that's most important. And with this combination together with you as in the lead, no doubt locally we will have that here, and that's most important to our local communities. So
change is always a little scary, and believe it or not, this is a little scary for us, right? We're bringing in a new partner, and there's financial commitments that we've made, not only to build some things within the hospital, to make investments in the community.
Yes, the anchor mission.
The anchor mission work. And so, we take those commitments seriously. So, but in the end, what you're going to end up with is an ability to integrate care, primary, secondary, tertiary, in a way that we're not able to do, and an ability to share resources in a way that we couldn't do before. So I think what you're going to get for this community is the best of both worlds. You're going to have a strong, independent board here and a leadership team here, a president of the healthcare system here that will work on my senior leadership team and be a part of that senior leadership team, and now just better coordinate all the activities. You also get a better IT system out of this,
Yes.
right? And something that you couldn't do with a smaller healthcare system. And that's going to be so critical in the future to have that state-of-the-art IT system. And so that was probably the one thing that pushed us over in terms of moving in this direction.
Well,
And again, we couldn't be more excited. We're going to take great care of the people here the way Harrington has always for 90 years, I'm trying to think now.
91, yeah.
91 years.
Yeah, we're getting.
And I think it's going to assure the long-term sustainability for the next 91 years.
Well, thank you for your time. I know everybody wants a part of talking to you today, so thank you again, Dr. Dixon, and we look forward to many, many years of working together with UMass Memorial Health.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
It's a pleasure to meet you. Can we have a few words for local TV?
Sure.
All right.
Yeah, I think it's a phenomenal opportunity for Harrington, especially within behavioral health. I think the ability to be able to integrate systems across the Southeast County. I think that Central Mass will benefit in a lot of ways. And already as a result of this acquisition, there's been investment. We're opening 10 new inpatient psychiatric beds in Webster. We've been able to expand our services, and that's a direct result of our involvement with UMass and their investment in our behavioral health system. There's been a lot of communication in terms of integrating services. We've opened up a lot of new services, and really looking forward to sort of pairing those together and being able to really benefit all the people in this South Central Mass.
It sounds like a great opportunity, and behavioral health is such a critical need these days. So thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
I hope you have a great day, and I look forward to the future of what's happening here locally.
Thank you.
It's a great opportunity. I think it was a long time undertaking. We worked on this for several years, but ultimately the objective was to perpetuate healthcare, to save healthcare for our local community. And the outcome is we have, and we've done it with the best partner possible.
Well, I think it's, I agree with Jim that what you're seeing is a continuation of excellence in medical care for the community. And I think a community hospital brings that.
Hi, Alan. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk with you today. This is Alan Pepple, former chair of the Harrington Hospital Board, and we'd like your comments on this big day, this historic moment here for Harrington Hospital.
Well, it's a bittersweet day because I think it has to happen for the long-term viability of the hospital, and as healthcare has changed. But I think, that's the part that has to happen. The reminiscent part is the tradition and the heritage and the impact that this hospital's had on the local community all on its own. It is an independent organization. So it's bittersweet in terms of what has to happen. It's the right thing to do, but we always think of where we've come from to get here. So, but I think in terms of behavioral health, healthcare in general, the need for capital equipment, things like electronic records and all those challenges, the need for the merger is paramount, and so it's an exciting day going forward.
Thank you for your time today. Enjoy the festivities. It really is a historic moment for the local community that made this hospital happen for the last 90 years. So thank you, Alan.
Thank you.
So I've been part of Harrington's senior leadership group for the past 11 years. I was on the strategic committee to help kind of make the decision and ultimately make the right decision to go to UMass. My role going forward, I oversee HR and a few areas that'll kind of change over time, but we'll be trying to integrate ourselves into the UMass system and really take advantage of everything they have to offer, and hopefully continue doing the great things we're doing for the community, but only bigger and better.